arts, culture, and entertainment in the Coachella Valley. This is The Desert Scene with Bonnie G. from the Mutual Broadcasting System. Here's Bonnie.
And welcome to The Desert Scene. Very happy to have you here today. And very happy to welcome Rob Osler, who's an author, very prolific and won a number of awards. And he's got a conversation. You can meet and greet him at the Best Bookstore in Palm Springs coming up on March 6th. Hi, Rob. How are you?
I am well. Happy to be here. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I'm looking. This book sounds so interesting. Your latest book is Cirque du Slay, S-L-A-Y, a rollicking new madcap mystery where the circus becomes the stage for a high-profile murder investigation, featuring a pair of quirky LGBTQ amateur sleuths. So tell us now, is this kind of part of a series? This latest?
It is part of the series. It is book 2 of the Hayden and Friends mystery series. Book 1 was titled Devil's Chew Toy and came out just about 2 years ago. So this is the sequel to Devil's Chew Toy.
So tell us about I'm guessing you're planning a sort of an ongoing series with these characters.
Yes, that's right. It's a couple of amateur sleuths. I describe them as continually lowering the bar on being an amateur sleuth. There's a good bit of comedy and slapstick. It's really a good-hearted mystery. It really kind of harkens back to the kind of mysteries that I used to enjoy as a kid. You know, the classic traditional mystery with the breadcrumb of clues and the amateur sleuths trying to follow up and basically solve the crime with some humor along the way.
So tell me let's back up. Did you start writing as a kid? Is that something you always thought you would do as a career?
You know, I started out, I actually got a degree in philosophy. That was my first degree, with the idea of going to law school. And I did that for a short while and then trying to figure out what to do. I ended up being a copywriter. So actually writing television commercials in Chicago for clients like Procter and Gamble and Kellogg's, a lot of Kellogg's cereal commercials. Okay. So, writing was always a part of it. But it wasn't until very late in my career that I made the switch to, actually not switch, but I added fiction writing to really more as a hobby. But now it's become, something of a nearly full-time job.
Well, that's fabulous. Now, you also do short stories, and I saw this on your website. Your Miss Direction was an Edgar nominee for Best Short Story of 2024. So did the short stories come before the full-length books?
They sure did. My first ever publication, anything published anywhere, was another short story called Analog, also published in Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. Plug to Ellery Queen out there. And that won a special award at the Mystery Writers of America Edgar Awards, the Robert L. Fish Award, for best short story by a unpublished American author. So my first short story was in Ellery Queen and won I'm really happy and humbled to say a big prize. And then my second short story ever is, as you just mentioned, Misdirection, which was published October of last year, and is a finalist for this year's Edgar Awards at Mystery Writers of America Awards event.
Excellent. Now, so mystery did you always know that mystery was sort of the genre you wanted to focus on?
I read fairly broadly, both fiction and nonfiction, as well as just, right into the fiction genre. But yeah, I mean, I love the puzzle of the crime, trying to solve that along with the sleuth or the detective or, the private investigator, whoever it might be. And so I also like the intellectual challenge that is really inherent in writing a mystery. Because, anybody who reads mysteries, part of the fun is, seeing if you can figure it out before it's revealed at the end. And then when it is revealed, trying to play fairly with the reader. So, the magic is if you do it right, and I sure hope I do, at least I try hard, is when you do reveal, like, oh, who did it? How did they do it? How did this come about? That, as the reader, you can say at that moment, I should have seen it. It was all there. I just didn't put it together as fast as the sleuth did. And so I like the intellectual challenge of writing them, and I sure like reading them.
And so the goal is for not too many readers to figure it out too soon, I would guess. One of the goals.
For sure. I mean, if you know if you do it right, nobody figures it out before it's revealed. But it's all the pieces were there to have been puzzled together if you could. But hopefully you've thrown in enough misdirection in another sense. And and those famous red herrings that we all love, which kind of take you off into the wrong direction.
Who would you say? Would you say that there are a couple of really, really well-known long-term mystery writers that sort of inspired you or influenced you a little bit along the way?
Sure. I mean, one, and so many mystery writers are going to mention this name, but for good reason, Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
And I remember, when I was little, and I actually had a bout of chicken pox. Why is that relevant? Because I was bedridden for a couple of days, and my mom introduced me to Agatha Christie and reading those novels, and they're so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they're just good fun. And then present day, Lindsay Fay is fantastic. Robin Geigel, who is a trans author and writes a trans PI character. They're fantastic. Mariah Fredericks is a fantastic author out of New York who's writing great standalones. Her book, she just had one come out, and I just bought it at Palm Springs Best Bookstore last night. The Wharton Plot. Historical, based on real characters. Her last standalone was The Lindbergh Nanny, which is fantastic. So there is no shortage of great writers out there, whether they're noir or cozy or historical or contemporary, that I find very inspiring.
These are a little dark. I like Patricia Cornwell and, of course, Dean Koontz. Now, he's very dark. There's not much light about Dean Koontz. So yours, it sounds like yours tend to be a little more on the lighter side as far as mysteries go?
Yeah, I appreciate that question because, it's such a spectrum. And when I set out, my intention was to write LGBTQ plus main characters, but their identity, wasn't integral to the plot. I could have made the character straight and the plot still works.
Yeah.
They're just straight. And that was important to me, representation, but as equally as important as representation is relatability. And, and I wanted them to not, I wanted the gay character to not be, some hard body gym guy.
Yeah.
Not dissing that, but, not everybody is. That's not
right.
reflective, of like one's gay identity. And so I wanted to make them LGBTQ plus, the main characters, but I also was very intentional about not having those main characters either be the villains, the victims, or frankly mean to each other. Again, I'm not dissing other books that may take their characters and stories in that direction. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something a little different where, it's just a celebration of humanity and good humor and big hearts, with hopefully a good mystery at its core. And, I really think of these as like kind of popcorn, kind of the equivalent of a popcorn movie. Mm-hmm. It's not literary fiction. It doesn't mean it's not well written. I hope it is. And I hope it's well plotted and there's good character development and the settings are interesting. But yeah, it is, I would definitely embrace the characterization of these books as big and warm-hearted.
Yeah, and we need some more positive things like that in our lives these days. Last question for you. I'm always curious about this. Are you someone who is very disciplined? You say, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to write from 9 a.m. to 1, or do you just kind of write when the mood strikes you?
Yeah, it's actually something other, which is probably kind of in between. It's whenever I can. So I've got the stuff. We've covered what's published now. The two short stories. There was actually also a short story in a Elvis Costello themed anthology called Brutal and Strange, which I think is available at the Palm Springs Bookstore. I've got a short story in there about drag queens and backstage drama, but that stuff's been published. I've got a new series featuring a queer female detective in Chicago in the Progressive Age, which is 1890s to 1920, who does her investigations by bicycle dressed as a man.
I love that. Okay.
I'm super excited. Book 2's been turned into the editor. That's coming out of Kensington Books in New York. And the book 1 of that series, I've got a 3-book contract, and book 1 comes out January of next year. And so really that's the long-winded answer to your question. When can I write? When do I write? Whenever I can, because I've got a book due. So
Right,
I
deadlines, yeah.
I actually saved and saved again before I started talking to you just now. So all the time.
Rob Osler, this sounds like such a great book. I'm going to have to get this. So Wednesday, March 6th at 5:30 p.m., a conversation with Rob Osler about his new book at Best Bookstore in Palm Springs on 180 East Tuckwitz Canyon Way. Thank you so much for being here. Continued success.
Yeah, thank you. A pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob Osler, and we will see the rest of you the next time on The Desert Scene.
This program was produced by the Mutual Broadcasting System.